Somewhere in a nondescript office building in London, a transaction just occurred. It involved 50 million US dollars, but those dollars have never touched American soil. They weren't issued by the Federal Reserve. They aren't sitting in a vault in Manhattan, and the US government has no record of their existence. This is the Eurodollar. It is the most powerful financial system you've never been taught about. It is a massive, private, offshore ledger of ghost dollars that effectively runs the global economy. And the most unsettling part? The people we think are in charge, the central bankers and the politicians, actually have no control over it. To understand why the world feels so financially fragile right now, you have to stop looking at Washington and start looking at the shadows. The story of the secret dollar begins with a moment of historical irony. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union had a problem. They were selling oil and earning US dollars, but they were terrified that if they kept that money in American banks, the US government would freeze their accounts the moment a proxy war turned hot. So they did something clever. They moved their dollars to a bank in London. Because the bank was in England, the US regulators couldn't touch the money. But because the money was still denominated in dollars, it could still be used to buy anything, anywhere. The Soviets accidentally created a loophole that the rest of the world's banks quickly realized was a goldmine. They found a way to use the dollar's prestige without the dollar's rules. When you put a dollar into a bank in Chicago, that bank has to follow Federal Reserve rules. They have to keep a certain amount in reserve. They are audited. They are part of a visible system. But when a bank in London or Tokyo or the Cayman Islands accepts a dollar deposit, those rules vanish. These are Eurodollars, which despite the name have nothing to do with the euro currency. They are simply US dollars held outside of the United States. Think of it like this. If the US dollar is the official language of global trade, the Eurodollar is the slang spoken in the streets. It's faster, it's unofficial, and it's everywhere. By the 1960s and 70s, this system exploded. Global trade was booming, and the world needed dollars to function, but the Fed wasn't printing them fast enough to keep up with global demand. So the private banks took over. They realized they didn't actually need physical greenbacks from the US Treasury. They just needed to write 1 million USD on a digital ledger and find someone else to believe it. This is the hidden mechanism. In the Eurodollar market, money isn't printed. It's imagined into existence through credit. When a bank in Singapore lends dollars to a shipping company in Brazil, they are creating dollars out of thin air that the US government didn't authorize. Today, the size of this ghost money supply is estimated to be anywhere from $20 trillion to $50 trillion. No one actually knows the real number. Not the Fed, not the IMF, not the Treasury. We are effectively running a global civilization on a currency that has no central ledger. Now you might ask, if it works, why does it matter? It matters because this system is built entirely on trust and plumbing. And in 2008, the plumbing burst. Most people think the 2008 financial crisis was about American houses and subprime mortgages. That was just the match. The Eurodollar system was the gasoline. For decades, global banks had been lending these ghost dollars to each other with almost no oversight. They used complex math to prove they were safe, until one day, the math didn't work. Suddenly, banks stopped trusting each other's ledgers. The offshore dollar market froze. Because these dollars aren't real in the eyes of the Federal Reserve, the Fed couldn't just click a button and fix the London market. They had to frantically set up swap lines, basically emergency pipes to pump real dollars to foreign central banks to stop the entire global heart from stopping. We saw it again in March 2020. When the world panicked, everyone stopped lending their secret dollars and demanded real ones. The global economy began to suffocate within days. This leads us to an uncomfortable reality. We are told that the Federal Reserve is the lender of last resort. We are told they control the money supply to manage inflation and growth. But how can they control a money supply they don't even measure? How can they steer a ship when half of the engines are hidden in an underwater compartment they don't have the keys to? The hype you hear on the news is usually about interest rate hikes in Washington. The reality is that the world's economic health depends more on whether a bank in Paris feels like lending dollars to a bank in Taipei tomorrow morning. If that private, unregulated trust evaporates, the official economy collapses with it. There is a growing tension here. The US government benefits from this because it makes the dollar the undisputed king of the world. It allows America to run massive debts because everyone needs those dollars to play in the global game. But it also means the US is on the hook for a system it doesn't regulate. We have outsourced the creation of our currency to foreign bankers who prioritize profit over stability. As we look forward, the stakes are escalating. Countries like China and Russia are trying to build their own versions of this, ways to trade without the dollar entirely. They've seen how the US can use the official dollar system as a weapon through sanctions. But moving away from the dollar isn't as simple as choosing a different currency. It means replacing 40 years of deep, dark, complex plumbing that connects every bank on Earth. The Eurodollar system is the ultimate too-big-to-fail entity.
It is a digital ghost that haunts every transaction you make. When you buy a coffee, the price is influenced by the liquidity of offshore ledgers you'll never see. We like to believe that the global economy is a structured machine, designed by brilliant architects in suits, but the existence of the Eurodollar suggests something more chaotic. It suggests we are living in a world run by a private, accidental system that was never supposed to exist, and one that no one knows how to turn off. The question isn't whether the system is broken. The question is, what happens to the world when the ghost finally disappears?